courtyard. At this time, before we introduce our special guests this evening, we have a 90-second clip that'll be coming up on the screens that'll sort of put into graphic format some of the issues that we face. So, Tim?
The current situation with the Middle East as a clash of civilization. I think it's more than that, way more than that. I think it's an outright declaration of war from radical Islam on Western culture, on the Judeo-Christian culture, and we should know that. It's a declaration of war.
These bombings are taking place not because someone likes to see bodies and count casualties. It's part of a campaign of jihad, holy war, to bring down the West, to undermine the very foundations of Christianity and Judaism.
The Islamists hate everything other than what they are themselves. They killed, for example, over 100,000 Algerians who disagreed with their brand of Islam. These are fellow Muslims.
There is a particular strand of Islam that has, in fact, challenged what I think is the absolutely central pillar of human civilization as such, namely the sacredness of life itself.
إن أشرف الموت هو القتل وأشرف القتل وأعظم الشهادة هو أن يقتل الإنسان في سبيل الله.
Well, we have before us the graphic pictures, but at this time I'd like to introduce our special guests this evening that comes from Israel, the land that God has given by promise. Our guest, Arye Eldad, born May 1st, 1950, is a sitting member of the Knesset, a physician and a brigadier general in the Israeli Defense Force. He is married with 5 children. He is a professor and head of plastic surgery and burns unit at the Hadassah Medical Center Hospital in Jerusalem. He is renowned worldwide for his treatment of burns and won the Evans Award from the American Burns Treatment Association. Professor Eldad, as a member of parliament, has been hailed by the Israeli press as an honest, hardworking, dedicated lawmaker who heads the ethics committee of the Knesset. Lastly, Professor Eldad is known as a revisionist Zionist. Simply stated, he supports the right of Jews to live in any part of the land of Israel and opposes any surrender of Israeli sovereignty to the PLO. He also opposes the creation of any Palestinian Arab state west of the Jordan River and called its possibility a disaster. We have asked Professor Eldad to give us understanding of how Israel should respond to the dilemma they face with the threat of nuclear Iran, with the emboldened Hezbollah, and militant Islam threatening Israel's existence with Russia's existence. Please welcome Professor Arye Eldad.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I'm not sure I deserve it, but thank you all for coming, and I will try in few minutes to tell you my perspectives of the challenges and the threats to Israel currently. In the year 2000, after almost 20 years of presence in southern Lebanon, Israel evacuated this area and hoped for peace and serenity on her northern border. In July of this year, just a few months ago, after terrorists from the Hezbollah organization crossed the border into Israel, killed 8 soldiers and kidnapped 2 others, war broke out in Lebanon and northern Israel. During the past 6 years, due to the strategic blindness of her leaders, Israel allowed the Hezbollah to equip themselves with 15,000 missiles of various ranges, products of Syria, Iran, China, Russia, and to establish a vast system of underground bunkers underneath the cover of residence homes, mosques, schools. For the first time in the Israeli history, the results of the war were not a clear victory. Meanwhile, along the southern border between Israel and Gaza Strip, Arab terrorist organizations have been firing thousands of rockets at Israeli towns. During this entire period, weapons, ammunition, and explosives were smuggled through the border between Egypt and Gaza Strip, just exactly from the area that we evacuated a year ago while uprooting 25 Jewish settlements and withdrawing from this area, just to make it, by the Hamas, a huge base for rockets and terrorism. Military experts on various procedures in the Middle East and experts on Islam says there's no connection between what was going on with the Hezbollah at the north and what was going on with the Hamas in the south. They tell us there's a huge difference between the Sunni terrorist organization and the Shia terrorist organization. It is true, but sometimes experts that see the details do not see the whole picture. Certainly there is a difference between the Sunni and the Shiite, between Syria and Iran. Syria supports the Hamas, Iran supports the Hezbollah. However, they are united in their goal of exterminating Israel. The war is not about the occupied territories or about the settlements in Judea and Samaria. The war is against the very fact of the existence of the State of Israel. The war is against the homeland of the Jewish people in the Holy Land. Israel withdrew from South Lebanon and from Gaza Strip, and the Arabs turned these areas immediately into giant terror bases. In the eyes of the Arabs, Tel Aviv is a settlement exactly like Beit El, Hebron, or my house in Kfar Adumim, near the place of the Good Samaritan. Terror itself is not as dangerous as the tendency of the Israeli leaders in recent years to capitulate and withdraw under the pressure of terror. These withdrawals only encourage terrorists to redouble their efforts to harm Israel. And then Iran entered the equation in the last decade. And the latest war in Lebanon was not only between Israel and Hezbollah. It was between Israel and the Iranian front units. What does Iran want from us? For those who are not familiar with the map of the Middle East, Iran is not situated on the border of Israel. The distance between the two countries is more than 1,000 miles. Iran has no territorial or political demands from Israel. In spite of all this, Iran decided that she must destroy Israel. Iran has developed a massive industry for enrichment of uranium and a huge industry to create long-range missiles to take these bombs to Israel. Iran's nuclear plan is rapidly progressing. In order to prevent Israel from taking any military action against Iran, they are using Syria and the advanced terrorist organizations of the Hamas and the Hezbollah in order to embroil Israel in an unending warfare, in order to demonstrate that the moment Israel tries to militarily strike Iran, the entire civilian population of Israel would be exposed to attacks by thousands of missiles and rockets already situated in South Lebanon and in Gaza Strip. Thus, they want to show Israel that any military action against Iran is impossible. Many Israelis, like most of the Western world, do not understand what motivates Iran. For the last 40 years, we were brainwashed, along with Europe and America, into believing that the problem is the occupation, the refugees of 1948, the settlements, or various and sundry border disputes. Having become desperate in the failure of the attempt through conventional warfare, Iran decided and set out to destroy Israel with unconventional weapons. Those who are familiar with the Bible will recall that this is not the first time that a plan to destroy Israel has originated in Persia. It's worth recalling that the first plan for the final solution for the Jewish people in the world did not come from Nazi Germany. 2,500 years ago, earlier, as we read in the book of Esther, chapter 3, says Haman, the senior minister of Persian king Ahasuerus, "There is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are different from all people, nor do they keep the king's law. Therefore it is of no benefit to the king to tolerate them. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed." And the letter was sent by couriers to all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to annihilate all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day. Today, there's still a window of opportunity to exert massive political pressure on Iran in order to stop the enrichment of uranium. However, the chances for succeeding in this effort are slim. The available time remaining is passing quickly. Iran is also developing long-range missiles in order to deter America from intervening militarily against Iran. The threat is against the entire free world. However, similar to the time of Hitler in Germany, the international community hesitates to bear arms and to fight for its survival. Ahmadinejad from Iran and his plan must be eliminated physically. This year and not next year, as next year may be too late. Whoever hopes that the diplomatic international pressure will cause Iran to retreat from its plans does not fully grasp the motivation that are at work. It goes against our rationality. Ahmadinejad sees himself as the leader of the Muslim crusade against the Western culture, as represented by Israel and America. We are in the middle of the Third World War. What happened here in 9/11 is just a part of this war. If Europe will not enlist in this war, then it will be the responsibility of the US and Israel to do the job of protecting the whole world. But lately, some worrying signs suggest that the US administration is reluctant from giving Iran an ultimatum to stop their nuclear plan. We heard voices from the White House saying Iran has the right to develop nuclear energy for peaceful purposes. But we know there is nothing peaceful in the Iranian nuclear plan. So we are worried that we are going to be left alone in this war. If Israel itself has to fight this war, then it will act at all costs, with all our power. We did not return to our promised land just to turn it into a big concentration site which will allow our enemies to destroy all the Jews at a press of a button. Israel will have to fight in Gaza Strip, Syria, and Lebanon, and then, after we have secured the home front, Israel, and if there is no other alternative, Israel alone can attack Iran in order to destroy their nuclear weapon program. These are the challenges facing Israel, and in order to accomplish this, we will have first to change the Israeli leadership, which has failed in the last war. We need your help in order not to stand alone in opposing all these enemies. Then we can go to battle carrying in our hearts the prayer of our King David, as we read in Psalms chapter 83. Do not keep silence, O God. Do not hold thy peace, and be still, O God, for lo, thy enemies make a tumult. And they who hate thee have lifted up their head. They take crafty counsel against thy people and consult against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tents of Edom, and the Ishmaelim of Moab, and the Hagrim. Ashur is also joined with them. Oh my God, make them like the whirling chaff, like the stubble before the wind. As the fire burns the wood, and the flame sets the mountain on fire, so pursue them with thy tempest, and terrify them with thy storm, that men may know that you alone, whose name is the Lord, art the Most High over all the earth. Thank you very much.